Hi everybody, good afternoon. We're just a minute past 12 today. Good afternoon once again, and this is Nexi Concepts Limited. My name is Queensley. Okay, so we already have people joining our live already. Thank you so much everybody for joining, and every Wednesday, we always have this opportunity to have a live with everyone to share vital information about, studying abroad. And you all always make it a date with us, and we really, really appreciate. Okay, so my name is Queensley, and then this is Nexi Concept Limited. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to have all of you here. All right, so I'm going to apologize that so I'm caught in a flu, so I have a flu and then it's messing up my voice, and so please pardon the way I will be acting at this point. So I will be acting at this point. So okay, so our life today is gonna be about so many things. So many things. We're gonna be having so many things to talk about today. So, all right. There's been information going out about, we're going to talk about Canada, we're going to talk about the US, and also we're going to talk about Australia. But today we'll be talking more about Canada and the US, okay? Because we know that there's a lot of information that we'll be sharing out. So you would, hi, DCN9M, let me see. Dicina official greetings from Birmingham. Great job, Nexi. Thank you so much. We really appreciate. Okay, so we'll be talking about the US. We'll be talking about Canada, and we're going to be talking about studies, requirements, and visa processing and all. These are the major things we will be talking about today. Okay, so it's majorly for the US and for Canada. We're going to fix a special date for Australia because, like I said, there are lots of information that we'll be giving out today. So if we're to talk about these three countries, we won't be able to absorb or share or give out all the vital information that are needed. Okay, all right. So that being said, I would like to see if more people will join before I could actually start the business of the day. So thank you, Daniela, for joining. Thank you. Hi, say hi to Tommy. All right, thank you. I am Akebe. Thank you. I am Real Royal. Thank you for joining. Shenzi, Son of Business. Thank you for joining. Justice_Kings. Thank you. Joshua. Thank you. Ayomide. We are really grateful. Zamani. Thank you so much. All of you are the real MVPs. All the real MVPs, that's all you are. So thank you so much. So I do not spend so much time or take so much time. I would like to give out vital information, and then once I'm done, we're going to entertain questions and we'll see how much we'll be able to respond to all the questions that you all have. Okay, so we always get inquiries about how do I go about studying in the US, and how do I go about studying in Canada and even Australia. And before now, we used to have a great inflow of inquiries about the US, but due to the issues about getting a date for visa and everything, so it kind of reduced. But now the rush is on again, so people are asking, what do I need to as a requirement to study? Can I go with my family? What are the visa requirements? The funds and all. What are the requirements? And okay, so I'm going to be giving you all this information for free, right? So if for any reasons after giving out this information you have inquiries, you're interested, you can definitely just drop a message on our DM, and definitely we'll be giving you all the assistance that you need. Of course, that's what Next is known for. Okay, so I would just let out some information about the US. Okay, first of all, the US, they accept If you have like a 2-1, you have a 2-2, of course they accept. So on their own evaluation or their own CGPA, it's usually a 3.0 over a 4.0, while ours is like over a 5.0. So if you're having a CGPA of maybe 3.5 on a 5.0, or you have a 3.0 on a 5.0, of course you can definitely apply for a master's program in the US, right? So they accept a 2-2, they also accept a 2-1, truthfully. And then your work experience also gives you an edge when you're applying for a master's program in the US, basically. So the 2-1 is accepted, the 2-2 is accepted. So some of the schools also require that you do like a WES evaluation, basically. So it's a body that helps to evaluate your transcript for it to be on the same level with the US. So once you do like a WES evaluation on your transcript, you'll be able to know if you are on their level of you're on their level of their 3.0 over 4.0 and all that. So a WES, some of the schools will require that you do like a WES evaluation. Yeah. And then some of the courses in the US, maybe some of the business courses like an MBA and all that. Not all of them, but some of them. Some of the schools will require that you take maybe a GMAT or a GRE. So now, the GMAT and GRE sometimes help you to get offer quickly, and as well gives you an opportunity to apply for maybe quite a number of scholarships that the school has. So that would help you get like quite a number of discount, basically. So you can apply for that, and with the GMAT and the GRE, with your high grade, maybe a 2-1 and all that, you'll be able to even apply for a graduate internship, like graduate assistant job. So you could be a graduate assistant and at the same time do your master's. So that way it would help give you like a couple of discount in your tuition fee, and then you'll be paid a certain amount of money. All right, so that could also help. So a couple of documents they would also need. So do not forget, you need an official degree, an official transcript. You need a degree certificate. You need your resume, which is your CV, a standard one, an updated resume. You also need your WAEC certificate. You also need your international passport. You need a personal statement. Also, we've been talking about personal statement for quite a long time now, so you'll be needing a personal statement as well for you to apply, and then an academic reference and a work reference. Okay, so now there are quite a number of differences between the references you need to show for the US or even the Canada compared to maybe the UK. Now, for the US or Canada, they usually require you to provide an official reference. Now, official reference means it's not a Gmail, it's not a Yahoo Mail, it's not a Hotmail and all that. So it has to be maybe maybe the lecturer's name at maybe unn.ac.uk.ng and all that. That is the kind of email that they need. So it has to be an official email of the lecturer. And in doing that, most of the application process is either they request that you put the lecturer's name and the official email, which they would send a direct request to the lecturer's email, and the lecturer will have to respond. Or they would also require that you have a hard copy of their reference letter, which they would definitely send an email to this lecturer, and he would have to respond and say one or two things, about you. So it is very important that before you apply for any school in the US or Canada, make sure you let your lecturer that you're using as a reference know about the fact that you're applying. That would help him or her help you always check his or her email to respond when need be. So it's quite important that you do that. All right, and there's also an application fee for applying to the US or even Canada. So I will be sharing these informations and trying to balance the both of them, but I would say some specific things about Canada later on. But some of the things that I know that are the same requirements with the US and Canada, I would also dish out that information. So there are actually application fee for either the US or Canada. So most times the application fee is usually between maybe $100 to $120 or $130 or $140. So you have to pay that to the school for them to process your application. Now, if all your all your documents are ready, now it helps you to put in application for your school. Now, it's advisable that you apply as early as possible. Now, the reason why you're applying as early as possible due to the school take maybe a month, let's just say maybe between 4 to 6 weeks for them to give you, that's for the US, for your offer to come out. And then you need to pay your tuition fee, so tuition deposit precisely. And then you also need to send it like a bank statement. Now your bank statement needs to show your tuition fee for 1 year at least, and then your cost of living for 1 year. So masters in the US rather, is most of their master's program is between 18 months to 2 years. So you need to show your tuition fee for at least a year, and then your cost of living for a year. And it needs to be in a 6 months bank statement showing that you have those funds that is going to cover for a year. So if you're once you're given an offer for the US, you need to also show your bank statement, and then the school will send you an I-20. Now, an I-20, I'm going to be dishing out information. So an I-20 actually is, it states the amount of funds you have or you need for your education. So that's your tuition fee and your cost of living. It's the bank statement you would send to the school. Once it's verified that that fund is okay and is enough for your study, the school will now issue you an I-20. So it's a hard copy. So sometimes before the COVID, they would usually just DHL it or like send it down to some of these courier services down to Nigeria to the student. Now with that I-20, you will now be able to apply for a visa. Without that I-20, you can apply for a visa. And as well, you need to also pay what they call for a service fee. So for service fee, pardon me please, so if service fee is like over $350, so you pay for a service fee. This service fee is going to help you. It's what the international agent, the US will need from a student. This will help you, to get even your SSN number, like to work in the social security number and all that, to work in the US. So you pay your your service fee. You're going to get your I-20, then you pay your service fee. Now once you pay the service, so the service is SEVIS, and there is like a certain link where you have to pay that fee. So it has a particular website or a link where you have to make the fees. So once you've done that, you've gotten your offer, you have your I-20, and remember you show your bank statement and all, then you show the service fee. If you pay the service fee, you're going to be getting a receipt for that. Once that is done, you know that the next thing is for you to apply for your visa. Okay? Now, to apply for your visa, you need to fill like what they call a DS-160 form. So you fill that form online where you're going to put in like all the required information that you need. Now the US would also ask for like your social media handle, because they have to make like quite a couple of inquiries or check about you and all that. So you show me how to handle your parents' information, date of birth, maybe your study history, your work history, the contact, emails and all that they need. So once you've filled that information, once that is done, you submit, and then it will lead you to go pick a appointment date for your visa. I need to let you know some of the requirements for the visa. So first of all, you need like a 6 months bank statement, like I mentioned before. You need the I-20, which I already mentioned. You need to fill the online non-immigration DS-160 form, which I spoke about. You need to take a passport, because you're going to be uploading a passport and probably going with a copy of it, a white background, and there is like a certain size of passport that you need to take for the US. So when you're going to take the passport, you need to let the person know that this passport is specifically for the US Embassy, so they can take you the size. They have an exact size for the passport. Then your social media details, which you're going to be putting, on the form. You would also be so if for any reason you're being sponsored, probably by your parents, your guardian, maybe an uncle, an auntie, maybe office, maybe an organization and all that, you're going to be needing a sponsorship letter. Very important. So that sponsorship letter would have to carry stating that, okay, so funds has been provided for your study and your cost of living, and that you are the one, or he or she is the one, backing you up in your study and all that. So it has to be stated on that sponsorship letter. Now, whoever it is that is your sponsor has to show certain things. If the person is a corporate worker and not a business person, he needs to show like a pay slip for showing maybe 3 to 4 months, showing that he's been earning a certain amount of salary for the past how many months. Obviously, the bank statement showing that you have a total amount of money in the account. And then if the person is like a business, then an employment letter and all that. But if the person is a business person who has his business registered, he needs to show his business registration letter, which is the CAC. And then if you have like properties, you want to back it up with your properties, like you have your property documents showing that original ownership, you're showing the photograph of the property, affidavits regarding the property and all that. It's very important that these documents are provided, because this would help with your chances. It's not a guarantee, but it's going to help your chances of getting a visa. So you all know that for the US, you have to be interviewed. So once you feel that, submitted all the documents, then you get a date for your appointment. You would have to go in person with your passport and maybe your original document, just in case you're being asked to provide any of them during the interview. Excuse me, please. Then during the interview, quite a number of questions will be asked during the interview. So you personally have to be prepared for questions, because questions can come from anywhere about why you're going to study that program, what you intend to do with that program, why have you even chosen to study in the US over other countries, who is sponsoring your study, what does your sponsor do, and why is the person sponsoring you. Quite a lot of questions could be asked. It depends. So it depends on the counselor who is asking the question. So you have to do well to be bold, to be able to answer those questions appropriately and all before, depending on, it's based on the counselor's discretion that he or she will decide to either issue you the visa or not. So if the visa is issued, your passport obviously will be collected from you, and then you'll be notified on when to pick up your passport from. It's usually the DHL office. You go pick it up, with the visa on it. So it's going to be backing up with a white paper. But if a visa is being denied, you're going to be given a blue paper at the point of your interview stating that your visa has been denied. Obviously, the consular will have to let you know why you were denied. Probably they don't feel convinced, or maybe your funds are not enough and all that. So please be careful not to usually use a business account, because if you use a business account, it does not really guarantee that the money in that account is for your studies. It's a business account, not a personal account. So if it's a savings account, your personal account, you could say, okay, this money in the account has been allocated for your studies. But if it's a business account where like a lot of transactions, like buying and selling are going on, money is coming in and out, there is this notion that the money in this account is strictly for business. So the chances that this money is for your study, they can't guarantee it. So you could be losing your chances of getting a visa. So it's very important that you get a personal account. Now, for the tuition in the US, most times they calculate the tuition based on the credit units that you're taking. Okay, so for other countries, you might just say, okay, the tuition fee is 10,000, it's 20,000. Some of the schools will just write it there that okay, it's $20,000, it's $30,000. But some of the schools, how they calculate it is based on the credit units you're taking. So that's the cost load, cost model. So if you're taking, maybe for instance, the cost models you're taking is like maybe 10 cost models, and each of those cost models are like 3 credit units, so it's like 3 units. So that would be a total of 33 credit units. And each credit unit, they'll always have an amount for it for international students. So you could see maybe a credit unit could be for maybe 600 to 800, 900, $1,000. So whatever the amount is per credit, you multiply it by the number of credit units you're taking. So some of the credit unit could be 30, it could be 33, it could be 35, it could be 40. So you do well to do what? Multiply whatever the amount of that credit unit times the number of credit units you're taking your course is. So if your course is like, for instance, 30 credit units, and each of the credit units is like maybe 1,000, so you're multiplying 1,000 times 30, so your total school fees is like 30,000. Okay, so that is how they calculate their tuition fee. Okay, so I'm just trying to like break everything down so we can like totally understand it. So I already mentioned that their course duration usually is between 18 to 2 years. Then the BSc is usually like 4 years mostly. Then once you've applied and you've gotten your visa, great. If you're a family person and then you want to apply for your family, of course the US gives an opportunity for your family to apply with you. So you as a student, you're applying on an F1 visa, while the dependent is applying on an F2 visa. So the F2 visa is strictly for it's actually a dependent visa. So now I'm going to be listing some of the documents that your family needs to provide when they're applying for their own visa. Okay, so yes, they're going to be filling the DS-160 form, okay, which is part of it. They're also going to be showing like a cost of living. So you as an applicant, your cost of living is usually between $10,000 to $12,000. Now it actually depends on the exact location. Okay, so it's just like maybe you studying in Nigeria, and let's say you're schooling in some of maybe the northern part of Nigeria, for instance. Probably you're studying in Kaduna, for instance. Your master's, you're doing maybe a program there, and then somebody who is doing a program here in Lagos. Okay, if you're doing maybe a master's in maybe one of those schools in Nigeria, and accommodation there, for instance, is maybe a year, you're paying for a self-con for like maybe 100,000, for instance. You know very well in Lagos, you're not going to be paying 100,000 for your accommodation. Self-con, you could be looking at maybe 300 or 400,000. Transportation, feeding, and everything would be totally different from someone who is staying maybe in the far north and all that. So the same thing applies to the maybe other countries. So now there is an average cost of living, and you also would have to consider wherever it is you're going to be studying. You can't compare maybe studying in Connecticut or Rhode Island with if you're studying in New York. The fees are totally different. So, but you need to have like at least between $10,000 to $15,000 for your cost of living, which will help you cover your accommodation, your transport, your feeding, and other miscellaneous. Okay, now that is for the applicant. But if you are a dependent, you need to provide as a spouse, you'll be providing over $7,000 to $8,000 for your own cost of living, and then for the children between $3,000 to $4,000 you need to provide for your cost of living. Then if your dependent has to apply, the applicant needs to inform the school that he or she is coming over with the children. Then they would provide the dependent their own I-20. Now that I-20 is also showing that they have provided a certain amount of money to cover for their cost of living, because they'll be needing the I-20 to apply for the visa. Okay, now you'll be showing maybe a marriage certificate, the international passport, pictures to show that okay, people are married, very important, financial capacity or capability. You're going to be paying visa fee. Okay, the visa fee is like $160. Cost of living, obviously, marriage certificate, original birth certificate for the children, photograph of your passport pages, obviously an appointment letter. When you get an appointment via the DS-160, an appointment letter showing that you have an appointment, and then they'll definitely go for the interview, and hopefully you're being given a visa. So this would help you be able to move you and your family to the US. You as a student, you're permitted to work part-time, 20 hours weekly, while your dependent, which is maybe your spouse, is entitled to work full-time. Very important, full-time. Now, there is also like a guaranteed stay back, basically. So if you're under maybe the sciences, the tech, the mathematics, or the engineering courses and all that, the social sciences, maybe digital marketing and all that, there is a guarantee that after your master's program, you will be given between 1 year to 3 years of stay back. Okay, so that could help you have a proper stay back in the US. But at the cost of you studying, right, and working rather, and you get a good place where you're working, and the company decides to like maybe retain you and everything, the company will have to help you with a sponsorship letter, okay, like an employment letter stating that, okay, we want to have you here and everything. With that, you can actually use that to apply for a stay back, like a PR and everything in the US. So these are like basic information that I think you need for the US. I already spoke about the tuition fee. I already spoke about the cost of living. So it's important that if you have to start your program in September, please do well to apply as early as possible, maybe in January, February, because of the time frame they would have to use to give you to make a decision on your application, and then you need to apply to get an early date, because some students have had to defer their offer because they were not able to get a date for an interview. So it's quite important that you apply as early as possible so you can get an early date to apply for visa and then get the visa. Okay, now these are like the major information for studying in the US. Now I'll just go into Canada. Okay, so for Canada, there are quite certain things. Most Canadian schools do not accept a 2-2, a third class, HND, OND for a master's program. Okay, so I'm just trying to let us know about some of the things they do not accept for a master's program. But if you are like a HND person, you could be eligible to apply for like an advanced diploma, sometimes a bachelor's program, and sometimes a graduate diploma in some of the colleges, right? Not the universities. So most of the colleges will give you an opportunity to apply for a graduate diploma maybe for 1 year or 2 years, bachelor's, advanced diploma if you're like an HND person. But if you have like a 2-2, you're eligible to apply for a graduate diploma and sometimes a master's. So it all depends on the school. So some of the schools might say, okay, we'll give you a master's, but it's going to be like an integrated master's where you have some months for your pre-masters and then your master's together, right? While some, you have to do like a graduate diploma first of all, because most times the Canada will tell you, Canada on their requirement page, you will see a B or a B plus. That is the grade they need for you to apply for a master's. So if you convert the B plus to the Nigerian grade, that's our CGPA, you're looking at almost 3.7, 3.8, 4 point and the rest of it. Okay, so it's usually advisable that if you could do like a WES evaluation on your transcript, it will help you know what level you are, if you are qualified to apply for a master's or not. Okay, it's quite important that you do that. WES evaluation helps a lot because it's going to convert your transcripts to their own transcript and know the level you are. Okay, so But if you have a master's, it's you could get a guarantee that you could be given a master's program. Okay, um, that's for the CGPA. Your degree certificate is needed, obviously. Your WIEC is needed, WIEC certificate rather. Your resume has to be updated, of course. You also pay like an application fee as well, which is between $100 to maybe $150. Personal statement, very very important. They really, most times they want to know why you want to study that program, what you intend to do with it, why the Canada, what was your drive, what you intend to do with it after studies, and vital information that you need to provide. So you need to provide that as well. The way they calculate their tuition fee is the same thing with the US. It's by credit units. Okay? So the number of credit units, how much it is per credit unit, multiply it, gives you the tuition fee. So, but most of the Canadian tuition fee usually varies. So you'll be looking at maybe from 30,000 and above for their tuition fee. Okay? 20,000 Canadian dollars and above for their tuition fee. These are like some of the major document that they need for you to study in Canada. Now, Canada closes the application portal quite early. Okay? Quite early. Some Canadian schools for admission of September next year, some of them will start closing, their portals might start closing from ending of this month to November, while some will be December, some might be January. But it is advisable that you apply very early. The earlier the better. It gives you the chances or the possibility of getting your offer as quick as possible, so that you can apply for a visa as early as possible, because now visa for Canada takes quite a long time. You're looking at between 3 to 6 months for their visa. So if, for instance, you're going for a program in September, you need to apply now, because their admission takes quite a long time as well. So if you apply, let's say their portal is opening now, you apply for your admission like maybe in October, and luckily your offer comes out in December. It gives you enough time to apply for your visa, and hopefully your visa comes out maybe in June, July. So you see, you'll still be able to meet up with your September. And because of the fact that the application, now they close the application early because they know that their visa takes quite a long time. So it is important that you apply as early as possible and get all your documents complete. Please, they do not accept a student copy transcript. You could use that for your application, but you must provide an official transcript. And most times, the transcript has to be sent directly from the school. Same applies to some of the US schools. Most of the schools if you're schooling in Nigeria, your school will have to send your transcript directly to the university in either Canada or US if the school requires that. So if you have a student copy, of course you can use your student copy to apply, but the school would definitely require you to provide an official transcript. Very important. So the schools will also require you to provide a WES evaluation. Very important. The transcript and the academic reference as well, they would require an official email address, official one, where they send the email to the lecturer and the lecturer will have to respond. And some of them requires a work reference. So wherever you're working, they will definitely ask for a work reference. So referencing is very important. Transcript is very important. Degree certificate, very, very important. Your personal statement, quite very important. International passport, definitely. Your resume, definitely. So there are vital, important documents that needs to be provided. Okay? Now, once your offer is given, there's obviously a deposit. I even missed that for the US. So most of these schools require a deposit, while some do not. Some US will require, some do not. So Canada as well, it could be 3,000, it could be 4,000, some of them could be a 50%. They require that you make that payment before you can apply for your visa. So once this payment is done and they've received that, they're going to be issuing you an accept Please, I wanted to be sure that you can hear me. Please, if you can hear me, just indicate by maybe waving or saying something that you can hear me. So let me be sure that I am not talking to myself alone. Okay, please help me. Let me know if you can hear me, okay? Before I can move on, let me be sure that you can hear me. Please, anybody, a wave, a hello, yes, I can hear you would help me. So, okay, all right. Thank you, son of business. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, so I'll just go on. All right, so now once your offer is given, remember, like I said, it takes a long time before a visa can be granted. So it is very important that you apply for your admission as quick as possible, so you can get your offer as quick as possible. So you can also apply for you can pay your tuition fee as quick as possible, so that your school can give you what, an acceptance letter. That's for the admission. For the visa, most times they require a bank statement of between 3 to 4 months, but we advise 6 months. Okay? Now, you would also need a police certificate. Very important. Now, a police certificate is a statement that the police would give to show that you do not have any criminal record whatsoever. Okay? It is very important that you provide a police certificate. You cannot apply for a visa without it. Very important. Okay, you show your bank statement showing your cost of living for 1 year and your visa for 1 year. Now, cost of living is usually 10,000, but like I said, different areas, different expenses and all that. So you could budget between 10 to 15. The truth is, the higher the money, the higher your chances. So not because they said cost of living is 10,000, you go and provide 10,000. If you can provide more than that, the better for you. So it's better you provide as much money as you can in the account, irrespective of the fact if you are showing your own personal account or not. It's important that you show that amount. Okay, you're providing that. You're providing your pardon me, please. So you'll be showing your offer letter from the school. You'll be showing supporting document as personal statement of purpose, sponsorship letter. So if your parents are sponsoring you for your studies, even if they put the money in your account, your parents will definitely have to show a sponsorship letter saying that, okay, they are the ones sponsoring you, though they have put the money in your account, they are the ones sponsoring you. They're going to be showing like documents, maybe landed property and the rest of it, payment slip to back up your visa application, a police certificate as well, birth certificate, very important, your work certificate, very important, degree certificate, transcript, business registration if your sponsor is someone who's running a business and not a corporate worker. I already explained the cost of living that is needed, and there's the proof of funds. Now, if your most masters in Canada is usually 2 years, but there are some that could be for a year. Some of their graduate diploma could be for a year, some of them might be for a year. So if you do any program that is for a year, you're entitled to just a 1 year stay back. But if you run a program for like 2 years, a master program for 2 years, you're entitled to a 3 year stay back. Okay? Which once you're during that 3 years, you would I know most students want to ask, how do I apply or be able to get like a PR and all that. Okay, now if once you're working and you're under the NOC, which is the National Occupation Classification, that's what they call an NOC, a National Occupation Classification, and it's like a systematic taxonomy of all occupation in Canadian labor markets. They have like different types, like it's under different categories. They have the O, the A, the B, the C, and the D, right? So they're different this is so when you want to get a job, there's a website you have to visit to see what kind of classification, like under what kind of tier you are. Okay, then you would know what kind of talking about your studies and your stay backs. Like I mentioned, do a 2 years master's and you could have at least a 3 year stay back in Canada, which will help you work. And then luckily, if your company you're working with is under the NOC and all that, you could know the category in which you fall under, and then you can apply. Write an IELTS and then submit documents, and you could be lucky to get a PR in Canada. Canada also allows dependent, okay? So it allows dependent. I know most people, as I'm talking, a lot of people are just more concerned about, let me know if there is opportunity for my family to come with me. Of course, yes. There are opportunities for your oldest document mentioned, your acceptance letter, your examination report. Now, for your bank statement, it is important that the bank sends the bank statement directly to, the embassy. Okay? So that once the embassy receives the bank statement and reviews it, they send you a ticket. So it's like a document, but they call it a ticket. So with that document, when you're filling your visa application fee online, you're going to be uploading, you can go ahead and also upload your bank statement and also that ticket. It is important. So you're uploading all that, you're uploading your medical report, acceptance letter, every document, which through that means you now pay for your visa, study permit, and biometric fee. So your visa permit is because every other document has already been uploaded on during your visa application process be uploaded. So please do not forget all the documents, your sponsorship letter, landed property, payslip if your sponsor is a corporate worker, obviously the payslip, employment letter, bank statement. But if like a business person, maybe a parent or whoever, please, landed property importance, CSC documents, very important, a sponsorship letter, very, very important, statement of purpose, you need to write that, your medical test result, your visa application fee, very important, and your cost of living, like I explained, is between 10,000 to 15,000 for your dependent. Okay, for your dependent, it's between 4,000. So your first dependent could provide between 4 to 5,000. Your second dependent could provide like 3 to 4,000. But remember, the higher the money, the higher your chances. Very important. Canada or you, it's not. They said let me provide 10,000 and I'm providing 10,000. No, they said I should provide 10,000 and I want to provide 15,000. I am showing I have enough funds. So that some of the documentations are not questioned. Okay, quite very important. So that's it. And most times the visa takes over 3 to 6 months, but now there is a Nigerian Student Express, so it takes like 1 month for you to do apply for the through that route, okay, for the visa. But in this one, you will need to write an IELTS. If you know you don't want to wait for between 3 to 6 months, okay, for your visa to be processed, you want to go through the Nigerian Student Express, you would have to wait for. You have to write an IELTS, and on each band you need to have 6.0 on each band. Very important. Each band has to have 6.0 on each band, so that's important. Then you need to provide a 6 months bank statement with a 12 months history. 6 months bank statement and your bank statement for 12 months, okay? To show that, okay, what has been going on in your account for the last 12 months, and then a 6 months bank statement. Very important. These are the documents they need for you to apply to the Nigerian Student Express. And visa takes, usually they'll tell you 12 and 20 Canadian bank statement of 12 months, okay? So it's the same thing. And you still have to let your bank send your bank statement to the embassy, which will be processed, and then they will give you a ticket which you upload, and then upload all your documents. The same goes to your family. Your family also would have to process their visa the same way, and then marriage certificate, birth certificate. You need to provide funds to show that okay, you have enough funds for them to apply for visa. Marriage album, enough evidence to show that you have been married, legit marriage. Provide all that, you apply for the visa. Once you know it's out. So if you know you want to go through the Nigerian Student Express, it's important that you apply for an IELTS, read and write the exam so that your visa can be out in less than, around a month, basically. So these are like the major informations I think I want to give out for the US and the Canada. But if you have like questions, you could drop your questions and let me see how I can attend to that. And then if you know you want to like speak with us directly, you can always send us a DM or respond, and take it up from there. So application right now is ongoing for the September intake, okay, September 2023. So if you're interested in the US or Canada, you can reach out to us through our DM, send us a message, and then we would have to evaluate to be sure that your documents are okay and you're qualified to apply for any of the programs in Canada or the US. Okay, so do I have questions? Let me know so I can respond. Because if we don't have questions, I want to believe that I shared vital information that everybody understood. So nobody has questions. So I will be waiting for your questions so I can respond. Okay. So does it mean that there are no questions? Everybody understood everything I said, or I'm not sure. Am I sure everybody hears me? Someone is saying talk about UK, please. Today is specifically for the US and Canada. And we'll talk to you about the UK. But today is for the US and Canada. I wouldn't want to mix up, information and sharing about the UK when I'm actually talking about the US and Canada. So please, at Akdel Upkeep, please just send us a DM, and definitely we'll be answering all your questions about the UK, definitely. Whatever it is you want to ask, we would definitely answer. Okay? All right, so do I have questions for the US or for the Canada? Any question, and let me answer. Any questions? Okay, so for the dependent, your kids, so let me be specific. Let me clarify that. So dependent are usually your spouse and your children. So if you have 10 children and they're your kids, of course they can go with you. Or an adopted child, you need to show adoption documents to show that yes, this child is legally adopted and is your child. Okay, so there are no limits to the number of dependents. Dependent on your children, you can't leave them behind now. So your husband and your children, of course, they can apply with you. All right, thank you, Glory, for that question. More questions, please ask your questions. Let me answer. We have like less than 7 minutes more to go. So if you have questions about the US or Canada, I'm open. I'll be able to answer all your questions. Okay. So it seems like everybody understood everything I spoke about the US and Canada. Okay. So am I permitted to draw the curtain here? If for any reason there are no questions, then thank you for an informative session. Thank you, Ruth. I really appreciate it. Can your spouse be your sponsor? Of course, your spouse can be your sponsor. Like I said, whoever is sponsoring you would definitely have to show all
battery low
when he or she is if the sponsor is, if he's sponsoring you and showing his bank statement, of course. If he's putting the money in your account, he still needs to show all those documents to show that he's sponsoring you. Within 6 months, do I need to have a required form before the 6 months, or can grow it from the first month? Of course, you can grow the funds from the first month to the 6 months. I was saying that you don't just, let's say you need to show like 20 million and you just spark 20 million and put in the account in one day, right? Maybe you have a business account and that's where your funds are, you've been keeping that, you want to put in your safe, you just move it at once, and then afterwards the other transaction showing there is like little. You need to put the money, but remember, it's when the money is complete it has to be, the money has to be in your account for like 6 months, basically. That's what I'm saying. So if you need to show like 20 million and then the other transaction going in your account after 20 million, the other transactions, of course, yes. But not that you start, maybe you had like, you need to show 20 million and then you put 5 million in this first month. Second month, you put 10 million. Third month, you put 1 million and you feel it's counting like that. No. The fund has to be in your account for 6 months. You're showing a 6 months bank statement. Okay? So it's important that, no, so it's not like you'll be growing the money. No, that's not it. You need to show that fund. So other funds can be coming into the account, but that exact amount has to be in your account for like 6 months. Okay? It has to. Can you process admission for schools and visa to Canada? And that's why we are talking about admissions to the US and Canada. Of course, we can do that for people. Yes, we definitely can. Yes. Okay, please for Canada, can your family relocate with you immediately? Of course, yes. Once you've gotten your visa and you want your family to apply immediately. You've gotten your visa. Definitely, yes. Just make sure that all your documents are complete. Then yes, you can. They can. Yes. Can any other person aside a family member be one sponsor? Well, yes. Company can sponsor. Yes, people can sponsor, basically. They can. But a lot of documentation has to go in, basically. A lot of documentation has to go in. And there needs to be something to show that there is a relationship. Okay? It could be maybe your company or what, to show that, okay, there is a relationship that is making this person want to, sponsor your studies, basically. So, of course, yes. Okay. In absence of any question, do I have to call it a day? I hope everybody enjoyed today, enjoyed the session, enjoyed all the information that we shared. I'm so glad that a lot of people had to attend today's live. And thank you so much, Glory, for your questions. Thank you, Habibat Love. Thank you, Buki, Tammy. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Ruth. Son of Business, thank you for joining as well. There are a lot of questions, and thank you for everybody for joining, asking your questions, and your support and everything for it. Thank you to for Canada visa, what is the success rate? So for Canada visa, I'll be sincere with you, whether Canada, what's the name, the US, it's based on the consular's discretion. Do your documentation fine and allow them make their decision. Okay, this is just what I have to tell you. Make sure your documentations are okay, your funds in your account are okay, then you apply. But it is based on their decision to know if this is okay for them to issue a visa or not. Truthfully, okay? Yeah, so that's it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I really appreciate. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. And definitely we'll be here next week, Wednesday, to give out or dish out more information about studying abroad.